Many of you have told me that what's holding you back is that you don't know how to actually prepare and submit a proposal to the government, and that's understandable. Government solicitations are complicated and confusing, and it can feel like they've been specifically designed to keep people out of government contracting. This is Fed Access, and I believe government contracting should be accessible to everyone. In this video, I walk you through how to submit a proposal to the government. I'll show you how to complete your cover page, your pricing schedule, how to submit questions, what you have to do with amendments, how to deal with those reps and certs, how to submit the proposal, and finally, what are the keys to a winning proposal. Okay, let's jump in. We start at sam.gov, we find a contract that we want to bid on, and we download the solicitation documents by clicking on these links here. If you don't know how to find contracts or bid, I have a whole other video that walks you through that process. Check out the link in the notes below. But now let's walk through the steps of preparing and submitting a proposal, starting at the beginning with the cover page of your offer. Very often, the solicitation will include the cover page that you should use for your offer. Here's a current RFQ for janitorial services that I just downloaded from sam.gov, and it includes this cover page. They're giving you the form they want you to use as the cover page of the offer that you submit to the government. You just fill this out, sign it, and date it here at the bottom, and include it as the first page of your submittal. There are actually a bunch of different forms that you will see used as a cover page, and the layout of the forms differ, but the information is basically the same. The form you're most likely to see is the SF-1449, which I'm showing you here. This is a solicitation document that I just downloaded from sam.gov, and the SF-1449 is the first page of that document. The key thing to understand is that part of this form is filled out by the government, as you see here, and part of this form will be filled out by you, and you'll usually include the form with your offer as the cover page. This form has really important information, so let's walk through it step by step. First, note the solicitation number here. You want to make note of this number. Anytime you correspond with the agency, you want to be sure to include this number. Next, note the offer due date and time here. This proposal is due noon on September 23rd. This is essential. Your proposal must be received by the government by the due date and time specified. And here in Bot 7, we see the name and telephone number of the government point of contact. And these plots here tell us the contracting office that's issuing the contract. Bots 10 here tells us who's eligible to bid on this contract. We see this solicitation is set aside for small businesses. Remember, the definition of small business is based on the NAICS code and its size standard. So they're telling us that for this contract, the NAICS code is 561720, and the size standard for this NAICS code is 19.5 million annual revenue. What this means is that if your average annual receipts are less than $19.5 million, then you qualify as a small business and you're eligible to bid on this contract. And by the way, if you're bidding on this contract and you don't already have this NAICS code listed in your SAM profile, then simply go back into SAM and update your registration to add this NAICS code. When you submit your offer, you can use the same form as the cover page of your offer, so let's walk through how you would fill it out. You fill out box 17A, enter your company name, address, and telephone number, and check box 17B if your remittance address is different and put the remittance address in your offer. And in box 30, you sign, you type or print your name and title, and you put the date signed. In terms of pricing, sometimes they want you to type your pricing right here in these boxes, and often the solicitation will include a separate pricing sheet that they want you to fill out and include with your offer. So let's talk about pricing next and look at how to fill out those pricing sheets. And here's what the pricing sheet from that solicitation looks like. They're requesting 1,152 labor hours. Here, you'd write in your unit price, that's your dollar per hour. And here, you'd type in your total amount, which is 1,152 labor hours times your price per hour, and you'd enter that here. Sometimes the pricing sheet the government provides is in the form of an Excel spreadsheet, like I'm showing you here. In this case, you'd use their spreadsheet and you'd list the price for the base year and each of the option years of the contract. Now, what I want you to notice is that for the offer that you submit to the government, you're just going to fill out the fixed price that they ask for. For example, the price per hour and the total price for a year. So you don't submit the details on your pricing, you just give them the numbers they ask for. But you're going to need to know those details in order for you to figure out your price. To develop your price, you start by reading the scope of work. And sometimes this has a different name. Sometimes it's called a performance work statement, like you see here. So let's go through this and see what kind of information the government provides. So we see that this is a janitorial services contract to provide COVID-19 related cleaning for office areas, restrooms, porch, break room, reception area, conference room, and hallways. They tell you the cleaning will take place 1 day a week. It'll be performed between the hours of 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And here they tell you that towels, tissue, hand soap, cleaning supplies, and trash liners will be furnished by the government. So that's really important to know. That means you don't have to include the cost of those things in your price. And here they actually go into a great deal of detail on exactly what the work entails. The theory is you read the scope of work and the rest of the solicitation and you put together your price. But the reality is you'll read the solicitation and you'll still have questions. And this is completely normal. In fact, I'd be more concerned if you didn't have questions. Now, I don't want to scare you off, but here's what you need to know about pricing. Where companies get into trouble is by not actually reading the entire solicitation and not understanding all of the requirements when they submit their pricing. I don't want you to submit a price that's too low due to not understanding everything the contract entailed. So don't be shy about asking questions. If something's unclear, then please ask. And next, let's talk about how to submit those questions. Somewhere in the solicitation, it's going to tell you the due date and time for the submittal of questions. And it's also going to tell you the email address for you to submit your questions to. And when you email your questions, remember to put the solicitation number in the subject line of your email. Now, let me show you what happens next. The contracting officer will post all questions and answers in SAM. And they do this so that all of the bidders have the same information. And I'm showing you here what that looks like. You see the contracting officer repeats the question but does not identify the name of the person who submitted the question. And then they answer it. So we see the first question asked is, who is the incumbent? And they tell us it's Integra Ward LLC. And the second question asked is, what is the incumbent's full contract price? And again, they tell us it's $87,675.46. In the fourth question, the person is asking for a clarification on how many volumes to submit for the proposal, and the list of questions goes on and on. A lot of times, answers to questions are made into amendments to solicitations. So next, we need to talk about how to handle amendments. Here's an amendment that I found posted on a current solicitation on sam.gov, and I want to show you what it says. Offers must acknowledge receipt of this amendment prior to the hour and date specified in the solicitation. And then it goes on to say in capital letters, failure of your acknowledgement to be received at the place designated for the receipt of offers prior to the hour and date specified may result in rejection of your offer. To acknowledge receipt, fill out block 8 here, including your name and address, and in block 15 here, put your name and title, you sign it and put the date, and you submit it with your offer. When you're working on a proposal, you want to check for amendments because often they provide information that will affect your pricing, and also sometimes they extend the proposal due date. And because your offer can be rejected if you don't acknowledge them, I recommend checking for any last-minute amendments right before you submit your offer. Now, you won't always use this particular form I'm showing you here, but regardless of the format you use, assume you should always acknowledge amendments in your offer. Next, we have to talk about representations and certifications, which everyone calls reps and certs, and that's what you see on the screen here. The first time you see reps and certs, they're confusing. Everyone's confused the first time they see this. The thing to understand is they don't change much over time. So on your first bid, this is going to take you some time to read through, but it's pretty much always the same thing. So after a while, you're not going to think twice about this. Now, you did some reps and certs when you registered in SAM, and the solicitation may give you the option to just print out your reps and certs from SAM and submit them with your offer. So you can do that, and that'll be easier than filling out the clauses all over again. But many solicitations also have additional fill-in clauses you need to complete, like the one I'm showing you here. If yours does, just print it out, mark the boxes, scan it, and include it with your offer. If you're still confused, don't worry, there is help available. At the end of the video, I'm going to tell you where you can get free help with this reps and certs stuff. Finally, when it comes to actually submitting the proposal, the solicitation will tell you exactly how to submit. This one I'm showing you here is telling you to submit your signed cover page, the filled-in reps and certs, the pricing schedule, and the signed amendments, and they tell you the email address to send it to, and they remind you to be sure to put the solicitation number in the subject line of your email. Now, sometimes rather than emailing the proposal, there's going to be a website where you upload your documents, but either way, the instructions will tell you how to submit. And that brings me to my top 5 tips for a winning proposal. First, follow the instructions exactly. Government solicitations differ widely, but they all have one thing in common. They'll all tell you exactly what they want you to include in your proposal, and your job is to give them exactly what they ask for. Sometimes the instructions will be incredibly detailed. Here's a solicitation that's telling you exactly what sections to include, what information, and even how many words can be in each section. And here it even tells you what font and font size to use. The key thing to bear in mind is to put your proposal together in the order that the agency requests and label the sections the same way they do. You want to make it really easy for the reviewer to find each piece of information. Where people get into trouble is they don't take the instructions literally and do exactly what they say. For example, if they say to submit 3 volumes, then you create 3 separate PDF documents and title each document exactly as the instructions say. And organize your information in exactly the order they list. If they've numbered the items, then use their same numbering in your offer. And the following trips up many first-time proposal writers. Let's say the submittal instructions say to email 1 PDF document with 2 sections, and then they ask for the exact same information in both sections. Many beginners think, I've already given them this information, I shouldn't repeat myself. But that's wrong. If they asked for the exact same information in 2 sections, then you repeat the exact same information. Now, why is this? The reason is they may evaluate each section entirely on its own, so each section has to contain all of the information required for that section. Second, the government will tell you the evaluation criteria that will be used to evaluate proposals. So before you submit, check your proposal to be sure you've addressed each of the criteria, and make sure that the person reviewing your proposal can easily find your response to each of the evaluation criteria. I'm not going to say much about this one other than to say I'm always amazed at how many proposals are submitted after the deadline. If you do this, you're just wasting your time because they probably won't even read it. So when you're in sam.gov looking at contract opportunities, first check the due date and make sure you have enough time to prepare a response. If you find one where the due date is tomorrow, you probably don't have enough time. For me, the most dreaded words in proposal writing are the words non-responsive. It means they think you didn't respond to a required element of the solicitation, and if they deem your proposal non-responsive, they won't even read it. The best way to make sure this doesn't happen to you is to have someone review your proposal before you submit it, And that brings us to my final piece of advice. I recommend you contact your local PTAC. Your PTAC advisor can look over your package and help you make sure you've included everything you need to and you've put together your offer correctly, and this help is free. Hey friends, I know this is a lot to digest, but don't be deterred. Once you've done a couple of these, you'll start seeing how a lot of this is the same from proposal to proposal, and it does get much easier. And for those of you who asked for this video, I hope you now feel more confident bidding on government contracts. Hey friends, keep the questions coming, and thanks for watching. See you next time.